I really just started a few years ago when I first acquired my first digital camera, a little point and shoot, a little Nikon Coolpix, and we were traveling to Mexico, specifically for the Day of the Dead, which is quite a big event in Mexico. And I decided that would be a good time to practice with my camera. And one thing led to another. And little by little it did develop into a passion, I confess. And since then we've made, I guess 3 trips back to Mexico, a couple of times for the Day of the Dead, and one occasion for the celebration of the Day of the Virgin of Guadalupe in Mexico City. I'm somewhat drawn to taking religious themed pictures. There's a certain emotion, a certain passion that goes with those events that I think lends strength to photographs. And as I say, one thing led to another. First it was Mexico, and then we decided, my wife and I, that we would try to do one major trip a year, major by our standards. And that led us to first Istanbul, Turkey, and then next to India, and specifically to the holy city Varanasi on the banks of the Ganges, and then most recently to Morocco. This year, actually, early this year, we spent 2 weeks in Morocco concentrating on the ancient cities of Fez and Marrakesh, which was really quite an experience. I try to be invisible. It doesn't always work. I don't always succeed. But I felt from the outset that I could get better pictures if people didn't know I was taking their pictures. Sometimes they do anyway. But I liked shooting from the hip, the name of the show. Actually, more specifically, more exactly from waist level. I had a little point and shoot camera with a swivel LCD screen on it, which allowed me to shoot from waist level. It's far less obtrusive, far less invasive than putting a big SLR camera up in front of your face. So I got to like doing that. I got to like shooting from the hip. It allowed for a certain spontaneity, a certain quickness, and a certain unobtrusiveness that I liked. Sometimes, however, I do engage directly with a person. Sometimes it seems to work better. I'll see somebody in a market or in a cemetery or wherever it may be, and if I speak the language, as in Mexico, or if I don't speak the language, as in India, I'll look at them and smile and point to the camera, and sometimes they'll smile back, and you get a different kind of picture. When the person knows you're taking their picture and they react to you and you react to them, you can still get a good picture, but it's a different kind of picture than you get when you're shooting surreptitiously. In Morocco, a lot of people objected vigorously to having their pictures taken. And this was interesting to me. That was because it was not the case in Istanbul. It was not the case in India. In India, women were often shy to the extent of sort of delicately covering their eye or half of their face with a sari. They would pull it if they saw me taking their picture. Sometimes they would, smile at me, but they would still cover half their face. Very few people, I think maybe nobody in India, flat out objected to having their picture taken. A number of people asked me, when they saw me working with the camera, a number of people asked me to take their picture. This is a mourner at the open-air cremation grounds in Varanasi, India, on the banks of the Ganges. This man had just cremated his father on the coals that you see in the background. And as part of the mourning process, they shave their heads and cloak themselves in white. And he actually asked me, he's one of the few who actually asked me to take his picture. And it's a look and it's a composition that I think just, again, one of those that just happened to click perfectly. In Morocco, it was quite different. And a lot of the women in Morocco are covered, in the extreme Muslim fashion, completely covered, face, body, hands, everything. So there is nothing personal to be seen, but they still objected to having their picture taken. And I thought, I'm not seeing anything except clothing anyway. But they did get angry about it, and it became, I guess the culturally sensitive thing for me to have done would have been to put my camera away when I realized that people objected. You know, judge me as you will, I didn't do that. I'd gone all that distance, I'd paid all that money. It was probably a once-in-a-lifetime experience. You know, most likely we probably will go somewhere else next time. Probably not back there. I thought this is the chance of a lifetime. It's a magnificent place. It's a fantastic place. There's something otherworldly about the old cities. And so I shot surreptitiously. I couldn't have done it with a standard camera that you hold in front of your face. I could only have done it from the hip. I sometimes used my wife as a prop or as a foil. I would have her stand someplace in the general direction of where I wanted to take a picture. I'd pretend to be taking a picture of her and then move the camera 10 degrees to the side and shoot the person I was really after. Is that an ethical thing to do? I don't know. I try to capture things that give me a certain feeling, a certain emotion, and I try to capture it in such a way so that I can convey that feeling to someone else. I hope when you look at these pictures, you have the same feeling that I had looking at the live scene. And I can't really easily put into words what quality it is that these people have that gives me that feeling. But there's something special about it. To me, it has almost a magical quality. I'm especially drawn to people who are cloaked, and I can't explain why. To me, there's something almost otherworldly about it in a couple of these pictures. People who are cloaked or veiled, or in one instance in Mexico, masked. And it gives me almost another worldly feeling. And if I can convey a little bit of that to people who come to the show and look at the pictures, I consider it a success. This was at the Festival of the Virgin of Guadalupe in Mexico City. Street performance. It's a huge event, and there are lots of performers roaming around, and this was a devilish sort of character, and it was right in front of the old basilica, and when it started unfolding, the light was perfect. Mexico City most often has a gray, smoggy sky. On this day, the sky was intensely blue, the sun was going down, the light was beautiful, and I said to my wife, hold everything, don't bother me. And I got down low and shot up so I would not catch any of the spectators standing around the side. And it's one of these things that just happened to click perfectly. Where next? We haven't really decided. This took a lot of effort, a lot of attention, as you can imagine, to put this show together. And my wife and I have been thinking about it, and I keep saying to her, wait until this is over. Wait until this is over, and then we will decide where to go next.